Hi guys, it's Corey here, and I was going to show you a quick tutorial on basic how to dip. So I'm using Lift Your Spirit Dips Cracked Ice and Tilted Crown. And so since I usually have the sample sizes, I like to pour them into the little cupcake liners so that you can actually get your finger in and not spill all the powder. So this one is Cracked Ice, and it's like a pale shimmery blue. And Tilted Crown, which is a chunky glitter, also sort of a pale blue. All right, and then I'm going to be using her Sensitive dip liquids today, and they are super gorgeous. I've already done one hand, so they're kind of dusty. Excuse that mess. So getting started, I've already prepped my nails. I've pushed my cuticles back. I've done peel base, so that's an option if you're gonna do that. Get that done, let it dry. And then as I'm applying, you can see I go pretty slow, careful around my cuticles. I fan the brush out and I set it down and then push it back towards my cuticles. That helps you get that nice crisp line. I will say my hands are a little shaky today, so just bear with me. I've had coffee and apparently it was super strong today. Since I use peel base, I go ahead and do a coat of base coat on all of my nails before dipping. The peel base will make it dry really quickly. So if I were to put the base coat on and dip, it would just be really blotchy. You wouldn't have good adhesion because it dries quick, and once it's dry, you can't stick the powder to it. And you can go any order when dipping your fingernails. I, for whatever reason, start at my pointer finger. I don't know why. I have no reason for it. Anyway. Sometimes if I'm doing like a more complicated design, I'll start with that finger, just, I don't know, so that I can get it done and stay focused. All right, so I've got base coat on all of my nails. You can see like the peel base was kind of coming up there, but that won't be an issue once I've got it dipped. Then I kind of give them just a sec to dry. I check, I'm rolling it back and forth in the light to see how glossy it is. It dries glossy, but not as glossy as it is wet, if that makes sense at all. So I'm just checking. All right. And then the other thing you'll notice is I take quite a bit of the liquid off, and I just kind of tap my brush back and forth down in the neck. If you do it on the rim, when you close your bottle, it will seal shut. So just use caution there. The good news is, as you're dipping, if you do get any on the neck, on the top of the neck of the bottle, it'll dry if you go slow on dipping, like I do. Anyway, so I'm just going nice and slow, taking the corner of the brush, getting it into the corner of the nail, bringing it out. Look at my little shaky hands. Oh my goodness. But hey, it's just proof that you can get a nice mani done even with shaky hands. And so then when I'm ready to put it in the powder, I just lay it in and I kind of press it around, turn my fingers sideways, this, that, and the other, so that I get it full coverage on the nail. And then to keep those nice crisp cuticle lines, I take either an orange wood stick, or I like this little plastic stick with a pointed end, and run it around. This will also help you have longevity. So if your dip gets on your skin and dries, as your nail grows, it'll pull out and it'll actually break the seal of your dip liquids. So that would be step one. And I usually will go through and do each finger, but just for the sake of the video, I'm just gonna focus on this one nail. So give it a few seconds. These are decently fast drying. Sometimes if you have a different brand, They're a little slower, sometimes they're quicker, but just give it, 30 seconds or so to dry before you brush off. And then I just have a nice, this one's a pretty soft brush. I like those because sometimes if you have a really stiff brush and you go to brush off your excess powder, if it's not completely dry, it'll actually leave marks, leave lines, or take off the powder. So, and again, I'm just tapping off my excess and then coming in. If you need to, you can add, like I have my little pinky here to give it extra support. They make tools too, like finger rests that you can use. I have one. I rarely, if ever, use it. Maybe sometimes if I'm doing like a super intricate design, I might use it, but it kind of gets clunky and in the way. And actually my nail space, the leg of my table was broken, and so it was super wobbly, and then it just was a big mess. We're currently in the process of painting my bedroom. So I'm dipping at a table, which actually works out because I'm by the window. I was over in the corner. Anyway, my space is all torn apart because we're going to be painting. I don't always wipe my brushes. Her liquids are pretty good about not getting contaminated. But if I feel like there's a little powder on the brush, I will wipe it off. And I just use, this is just a Bounty paper towel. If you have like one of the cloth-like paper towels, I wouldn't recommend using those because they kind of leave fuzzies on your brush. They're not lint-free, if you will. But the like regular paper towel is a great lint-free thing to wipe off your brushes with. Again, just going through. But you can see like I was pretty careful on not letting the brush hit my skin. So I have a pretty crisp line there. And then don't worry, the experts will yell at me. If you get it on your skin, I have pretty high skin on my sidewalls. So if you get it on, it's really fine. With dip liquids, there doesn't seem to be as many allergies. Now gel, absolutely take it off as quick as you can. You don't want to cure it on your skin. But with dip liquids, if you get a little on your sidewall, it's really fine. You can come back in. I usually do it after I activate, but you can just come in with your file and clean it up there. It comes off pretty easy. So the number of dips that you do, number of coats, is completely up to you. I keep a base of clear on my nails, so they're decently thick to start off with. I ride horses and do a lot of work with my hands, so I keep my nails super thick just for strength. Anyway, all of that to say, I typically just do 2 dips unless it's a more sheer color and I want it more opaque. Or if I'm doing like an ombre or something, I might add a little extra. There's an extra step. But most of the time, 2 dips, clean off my excess, give her a good brushing. If I don't get it on super smooth, I might add, do 1 more coat. This is pretty good. The reason I say that is sometimes if I kind of get a little lumpy in my application, I might have to file a little more, and I have been known to file off too much. So if you have a 3rd coat, that helps prevent that. But this is good. I'm going to go with it. This is a color I normally would not encapsulate in clear, but just for the sake of the tutorial, I am. It has a little bit of sparkle. The more you dip, the more you'll learn like what colors get buffed off. So silvers, typically it's not as big a deal when you file. The color will, it's not going to change because most glitters are a silver base. One like this, because it has color on it, when you file, if you don't have clear as a buffer zone there, you actually file the color off. But, okay, so encapsulating in clear is very simply, you just dip in clear powder. So I'm going to come in with my base. Now with clear, so on the colors, I keep my liquids nice and thin. With clear, if you want a super clear application of clear, meaning no bubbles, no kind of white, sometimes if your clear if you don't get enough liquid down, your clear will be cloudy. I like to go heavy on my liquids so that there's more liquid than powder, and you'll see, I'll show you what I mean by that. So I'm going to dip it in my clear. Go around with my cuticle cleaner upper. And as this starts to absorb that powder, it's still a little wet. It will still be a little bit wet, and that's what I want. You'll notice, like, when I dipped into the color, it was nice and dry. The powder all absorbed, or the liquid absorbed all of that powder. With the clear, you want a little bit of the wetness to stay, and that will just help keep your clear extra clear. Okay, so I'm gonna give that a second. Gonna come in and take off any excess. And I almost always, there's always like little foils and glitters. I'm gonna try to buff that. When I got some foils on there from this mani. Once I activate and file, that'll come right off. All right, I'm gonna move you aside, move this aside. And now that I've kind of taken off my excess powder, which there wasn't a lot of excess powder, remember, because I used so much liquid, I'm gonna come in with my activator and just slather that on there. Now the activator, it's fine if you get it all over the place. Not gonna affect anything. And I didn't point this out as I was doing it, but also make sure that as you dip, you get it on the free edge of your nail. So kind of wrap it around the edge of your nail there. That will help with adhesion. It'll help you get some longevity out of your nails. So now I'm just waiting for my activator to set. If you start filing while it's still wet, it will gum up and just be a big mess. So you got to give it a few seconds. We're doing this in real time, so you kind of get a good idea of what it takes. Now, normally I would have the whole hand go in here, and as you activate one nail, you move on down the line, and that one will be dry by the time you get done. But since I'm just doing the one, and I'm feeling just for any like wetness, feel if it's set up, it's still a little soft, so I'm going to give it another few seconds or so. Little side note, if you get some on your skin, again, you can just bring your file, and I use the coarse side, and it just comes right off, and it doesn't hurt. You might worry, oh, you're filing your skin. No, it really, as long as your file is flat, it's fine. All right, so I think we're pretty good here set up. I'm gonna do a test on my side. Yeah, it's looking okay. So then as I come in to get this nice and smooth and shaped, come along my side here, my edges, and I'm using the softer, the smoother side of my file. So I don't remember, I think it's 100, one side's 100 grit, one side's 180. So this is the smoother side. And I'm just fine tuning my shape. I like these little almond shapes. So you can see I'm kind of doing this rounded tapered motion, starting back here really at my cuticle to get this nice tapered line. Going around here on my edge. And then sometimes you'll notice I kind of took the tip and did this. You'll get sometimes as you're filing a little barb at the end. So I just like to take that off. And then I'm going to come and clean up this cuticle line very gently. And I'm keeping my file, it's a little bit angled, but not very much. If you take it super sharp, the angle's super sharp, you can actually file into your nail. You don't want to do that. Okay, and then I'm just going to lightly buff over the top. I've got a pretty smooth application, but if you have some ridges or bumps or whatever, you can definitely take off a little more to get it all smooth, but this one was pretty good, so we're just going to go. And you can kind of look, like if it looks blotchy, I try to get that to where it's all uniform and there's no blotchiness. So we're pretty good there. Smoothed off my top, smoothed off my sides. I'll set that aside, and then I have a little buffer block that I'm going to come over to get it nice smooth, uniform, yada yada. I hate when there's like weird textures on my nails. I like them super glossy smooth. Okay, so I'm going to come back in with my soft brush to take any of that super fine fine powder. Then I'm going to come in with this stiffer brush and really get into the cracks and crevices there. All right, so for our top coats, I'm going to come in, so activate. And get in there real good with my activator. And you're going to let that dry for about 30 seconds. If you need to, if you feel like you've got like, you can kind of see I've got some powder in there. I love these. It's a pumice stone with a like angled tip. As that activator set up, you can come in and clean this up even a little more. Sometimes it's hard to get in there with your file, but this will really get in there. It takes off that loose skin. I have really dry cuticles because, again, I work outside, and for whatever reason, even though I live in Ohio, it's somehow decided that we live in Alaska now, and it's freezing cold. Actually, I had one of my clients at the barn tell me, we've actually been colder. She has friends that live in Alaska, and we're actually colder than Alaska right now. So love that. Love that for me. I am definitely not a cold weather fan. All right, so I've kind of cleaned that up this little bit. Once we get our top coat on and do cuticle oil, we'll be good to go on there. That won't be noticeable. Okay, so that is base coat. That's not the one I want. Top coat. And this will feel slow and clunky. When you're doing your whole hand, it's a lot more streamlined. But I didn't think you wanted a 30-minute video, so we're just going to do a nail at a time. So I just do 3 swipes, if you will. Then with top coat, always wipe it off, because that activator that gets on the brush will harden your brush if you don't. So we're going to give it a few seconds. I can't talk. And I'm kind of watching again, making sure that it's a little bit more dry. So I'm just checking the gloss of it. Once you can see that it starts to lose that really high gloss, it's ready. Some people will wait a full minute. I usually wait 30 seconds. Well, actually, so I'll go through, do all 5 nails, and then by the time I've done that, I'm ready to start over again on the second coat of top coat. All right, and so this one, you can go a little slower. You can see I'm making sure to cap my edges real good. I start kind of on the bottom 2/3 or top 2/3, whichever you want to say, just so that I don't flood my cuticles. But then I come back in and carefully finish up. Give it one good swipe there, wipe off my brush, and voila, there we go. So very simple. If you're doing just a regular color, solid color, works with glitters, you'd follow all the same steps. But there you go. That's your finished dip powder nail.